I'm a leaf on the wind. Watch me soar. Hey everyone, Christina Tali. I am that trans geek girl, and today we are talking about one of the greatest space westerns that ever was written, which is Serenity. One of my all-time favorite shows. I've been following the show since 2002, since the show was released. It was just one of those shows that really spoke to me and helped me get through some tough times. So I have a very emotional connection to this show. We do have a special guest that will be joining us. That is Chris Stolle, who is pretty much his show is Breaking the Fourth Wall. He does show up as well as Journal of the Jedi. He does show up on several other shows as well, including this one on a regular basis. So we're going to talk about, first thing I'm going to do is talk about the basis of the show. So the show takes place in 2517. On the Firefly class freighter known as Serenity, that pretty much all the central characters call home. There's a lot of flack with this show, but there's a big fandom with this show at the same time. We'll go into that in a little bit. So pretty much the ship itself, which is the Firefly class Serenity, resembles a firefly when you look at it. It's got a big butt that lights up. I have to explain it this way because it makes sense. It looks like a firefly. And that's probably where the designer came from. The show was produced and directed by Joss Whedon, who released this show underneath his Mutant Enemy production company, which also was responsible for other shows like Angel and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So as we go through everything with this, it's going to be a fun episode. The ship itself was named after the Battle of Serenity Valley, which we find out throughout in the first series that Mal was a member of the Browncoats, which was a resistance faction fighting against the Alliance, or the Independents, that pretty much was the deciding factor. It caused the Browncoats to lose the war that they had against the Alliance and the core systems. And throughout the series, the Alliance is shown to govern the star system through an organization of core planets. And I say that, which was essential of the solar system. In this series, they never really explained whether or not this was one system or if it was multiple systems. However, we do find out that through the movie, which is Serenity, that it was one giant solar system that they were dealing with. So the neat thing about this show is the culture of the show. The culture is a very Western theming in a lot of places. You have a lot of outworld planets that have a very, like old school Western feel to it, like Cowboys and Indians kind of deal, or Cowboys and Native Americans, or whatever you want to call it, but it has that cowboy feel to it either way. However, there's also a very heavy saturation of Chinese culture as well. In fact, some of the curse words they say, stuff like that when they get angry, is straight Chinese, which is kind of an interesting dichotomy in the show. So it works. It's still different than most other shows. To me, it's a very unique show. I will say that for the record. So anyway, the central planets are firmly under Alliance control, but the outlying planets and moons resemble the 19th century American West, like I said. Under little government authority, settlers and refugees on the outlying worlds have relative freedom from the central government, but lack the amenities of the high-tech civilizations of the core worlds. And in addition, the outlying areas called the black, which is the edge of space, which we find out in Serenity is pretty much the edge of the solar system, which is what they call the edge of space. Is inhabited by these. It's not race; they're actually humans, and we find out the reason behind it. I'm not going to drop a spoiler on it, but in case you haven't seen it, which I don't know why you haven't, go see it if you haven't. I highly recommend you watch the series and watch the movie afterwards. And definitely do it. But it's inhabited by these people called the Reavers, who is a highly cannibalistic group of nomadic humans. Like I said, who have become like pretty much very savage. And everyone is terrified of, and you would be too, because they go from settlement to settlement. They will attack settlements, and they will rape, they will kill, and then they will eat. And you pray it's actually in the murder. They kill you first, then rape you, then eat you, because it'd be less terrifying. But they've actually eaten people while they were still alive and kill you that way. Yeah, which actually we find out for the reason for that when they visit a planet called Miranda. But once again, I am not going to drop a spoiler, even though this show comes out. Even this movie's been out for years. The show's been out since 2002, so you really have no excuse not to watch this show. So the captain of the Serenity is Mal. It's Captain Malcolm Reynolds, played by Nathan Fillion. And the episode Serenity, which is the first episode, establishes the captain and his first mate Zoe Washburn, who's Wash's wife, who is the pilot of the ship, played by Gina Torres. And both of those two are veteran browncoats. That means pretty much in the war, Zoe was Mal's second in command, if that makes sense. So it's needless to say that she is the first mate on Serenity because he can trust her. And this was during what they call the Unification War, which was a failed attempt of the outlying worlds to resist the Alliance's control. In a later episode, we had an episode called Out of Gas. It's actually one of my favorite episodes, which reveals Mal bought the spaceship Serenity to continue living beyond the Alliance control, because he hated the Alliance that much that he bought a spaceship to stay away from everything. And that was, like I said, this was a lot of these people's homes. The entire core group of characters, this was their home throughout the entire series. They didn't have a planet they lived on like... most series, like most space shows, movies, whatever you want to call them. So as we go, the main story arc follows River Tam and her brother Simon, which Simon annoys me, but we'll get into that later. River is a child prodigy whose brain was subjected to experiments at the hands of the Alliance scientists at a secret government institution, and they really messed her up bad. Like, they completely screwed her up. As is shown in the series, shown in the movie, that she's pretty much insane and very traumatized, which it's the same. And her brother Simon, who was a very brilliant medical doctor, managed to help her escape a couple times, I believe, from the Alliance. And is later revealed that River is also a reader who possesses telepathic abilities. Simon gave up a highly successful career as a trauma surgeon in an Alliance hospital just to rescue her. So, and as a result, they are both wanted fugitives. They joined the crew as paying passengers. They didn't just join the crew. They weren't taken in. They didn't know what the crew of the Serenity didn't know what they were getting into when they took on River and Simon. But one of the ways they had to make money to keep that ship flying was they were acting almost like a passenger ship. They would do jobs, some more illegal than others. But whatever they had to do to keep this ship afloat or flying, whatever the case may be, they would. So as Whedon stated in a DVD commentary, every show he does about creating family. By the last episode, which is called Objects in Space, the fractured character of River has finally become whole, partly because the others decided to accept her into their family of the ship. You also have Jane, Jane Cobb, which is played by Alec Baldwin, who's a mercenary here Mal met when they were on opposite sides of a dispute. Mal, while held at gunpoint, offered Jane his own bunk and a higher cut than his employer. So Jane switched sides and shot his then partners in the original plot Serenity. He intimidates Mal and does not betray him because money was not good enough. However, previously he had pointed asking the Alliance agent whether he would be required to turn on the captain to help him. And in Ariel defends his actions and alerting authorities regarding Simon and River by claiming he had not intended to betray Mal. He is someone who can be depended on in a fight. He tends to act like a Lumox who thinks, or Lumox, I can't talk today, who thinks he is the smartest person in space, and occasionally he does have hints of intelligence peek through, but he's not that smart. But you wonder if he just acts dumber than he really is. Like, there's major questions with him. So he does have a very intense fear of the Reavers, more so than the rest of the crew. Despite his amoral mercenary persona, he does send a significant portion of his income to his mother. Again, suggesting that there's more to his character than they did develop in the show. You also have Wash, who is Zoe's husband, not Zoe's wife. As well, he's also the pilot of Serenity. He's deeply in love with his wife. Wash expresses jealousy of his wife's war buddies' relationship at several points and unconditional support of their captain. The most particularly in the episode War Stories, in which he confronts Mal even as they were being tortured by a dissatisfied customer. He joined pilot training just to see the stars, which were invisible from the surface of his polluted homeworld. And he joined the Serenity despite it being highly sought after by other ships. He is very lighthearted and tends to make amusing comments despite the severity of any situation. We did see this a couple times in the show. Biggest aspect I can go on is when he was flying through that huge battle in the movie Serenity, and he just pops out the term, "I'm a leaf on the wind, watch me soar." You also have Anara Sarah, who is a companion, which is a 26th century cross between a geisha and an escort. It's pretty much what it is. She rents one of Serenity's 2 small shuttles and enjoys a high social standing. Social. Her presence confers a degree of legitimacy and social acceptance of the crew of Serenity would not have without her on board. She's almost brings that sense of class to the ship. And Eric displays great dignity, civility, and compassion. There's a strong romantic tension between her and Mal, however, which you see several times in the show also, who share many character traits, but each jokingly objects to the other's work as whoring or petty theft. Both refuse to act on their feelings to try to keep their relationship professional. We also have Kaylee, which is Kay-Winnette Lee Fry, or Kaylee Fry, who is the ship's mechanic. In the episode Out of Gas, it's been established that she has had no formal training being a mechanic. She just is a natural, but keeps Serenity running with an intuitive gift from the workings of mechanical equipment. And we see this more than anything else. She knows engines. She knows that ship. She keeps that ship together more than anyone else. She's very wholesome, sweet, and completely genuine in that sweetness, which is a weird trait for a mechanic to have, but it's actually really cool. And she loves being on the ship. She loves his people. And she's the only one of them who is incredibly genuine. And she has a crush on Simon. We know this through the whole series. The movie even more so when Simon actually is about to leave Serenity, and she pops that line to Mal about her Nether's Twix run on batteries, which we all know what that's about. And Kaylee is really the heart of the ship. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that. if Kaylee believes something, it is true. I mean, that's just the way she is. She's that genuine. And she's just a great character. We talked about. And then we have Shepherd Book. Shepherd Book is a shepherd. Or it's actually Daryl Book, but he's a shepherd, which is like a pastor. He's presented as a devout Christian. Book has a profound, unexplained knowledge about criminal activities, however, police corruption, military strategy, tactics, and weapons, which is questionable for a minister, any kind of minister to have. He's also very proficient in hand-to-hand combat and the use of firearms, which is, while objecting to violence most of the time on a rescue mission, he joins the fight while stating in the Bible is quite specific about killing. It is somewhat fuzzy on the subject of kneecaps. Book is a moral guide for Mal, and that's how he acts in the show. He is definitely the moral compass that, unfortunately, it's another shame that we had lost him in Serenity as alongside Wash, in case of those who, like I said, at this point you have no excuse not to see the series. He is definitely the voice of reason, conscience, and spirituality. At the same time, he seems to be getting along well with the amoral mercenary Jane, which is kind of funny, with the two spotting each other while working out using a bench press. His hitting backstory would have been gradually revealed. He had the series continue, but instead explored in the 2000 comic book, The Shepherd's Tale, which is a great book, mind you. You need to check that out. Like I said, the show blends elements of space opera and Western genres, depicting humanity's future in a manner different from contemporary science fiction programs that are no large space battles. Firefly takes place in a multicultural future, primarily a fusion of, like I said before, Western and Eastern Asian culture. And there's definitely a significant division between the rich and the poor. There's a result of the Sino-American reliance. Mandarin Chinese is the common second language and is used in advertisements. And characters in the show frequently curse in Chinese, like I said before. Some of the lines in this show is some of the greatest lines you'll ever hear, mind you. The show also features slang not used in contemporary culture as well, which is another interesting part of the show, mind you. Such that, like, adaptations of modern words or new words all forever. For example, shiny. Shiny is something that any Firefly fan would know. And if you don't know it, I will explain it. I will actually explain it, which is similar to cool, awesome, one of those words. But shiny is shiny. And another very well-known word in there is Gorham. We're going to talk about that one too, Gorham. Gorham, it's almost like a mild swear word, written, spoken. It's kind of like goddamn would be my take on it anyway. So instead of saying goddamn as a way to get around it, I guess with the FCC, they mutated it into Gorham. Like I said, and there's also spoken Chinese as well as Old West dialect is also employed in there. It's an interesting mix of the two, but it does work very well for the series. However, like I said, this show did one season and then was canceled by Fox, which is unfortunate, but it had so much more to offer, and they did kind of give it a little bit of closure with the movie. I would love to see more, and I'm really happy that they are coming back with the new series of books and comic books. So it is hope. So right now we're going to take a short, quick break. It's time for we're going to have Chris come on, and we will be right back. All right, so we are back from that little intermission, so to speak, and joining me, because he probably has nothing better to do, is Chris Stolle.
I can't front. I mean, I run an internet company and I've got nothing to do.
We figured. So the reason I brought Chris on the show is we're going to have a little discussion about Firefly. I gave you a synopsis of the show and everything else. We're going to talk about a couple of different aspects of the show that you may or may not like, touch on that. And I'm also going to get a feel for Chris's feeling about Firefly, the movie Serenity, and everything else. So,
And the reason for that, I'll give you the reason for that is because for the longest time I didn't watch Firefly. I didn't care. And I tried it one time a long time ago, and it really didn't capture me. Christina kind of forced me to have to sit down and watch it, and by the end of it, I was like, all right, I'll admit it, I'm wrong.
yeah, I really put a gun to your head to watch it.
You damn near had to.
Well, I mean, it's one of the greatest fucking shows Fox ever put out, as far as like their sci-fi shows. And as usual with Fox, they just screwed everybody.
Oh, speaking of obscure sci-fi shows, you know what I saw at Walmart the other day? I got to pick up. I do have to tell you this. Fucking Andromeda.
You know what else I saw at Walmart down here? I don't know if you had it there. Friday the 13th, the series.
I've got it.
I
No, not the series. I got the movies.
No, they have the series.
I want to pick up the Nightmare on Elm Street series. The series. Remember that?
I love the Friday the 13th series, but that's a different episode. We're going to talk about that. So
we'll get into that later. I just wanted to tell you because it's on subject.
Andromeda was awesome, though. I like that. That was one of Roddenberry's better, newer series. But
well, that and Hercules as a captain. Come on.
So first question, you kind of answered it, but let's give you. So what got you to finally watch Firefly? The people out there, because you're pointing at them.
Sure, all of them. I did it for you guys. I suffered through it for you. No, Christina made me basically by beating me down on how wrong I am on the show and give it another chance. Give it another chance. Give it, what did you tell me, 4 episodes? Because it starts picking up by around the 3rd or 4th episode. And she was right. It's one of the few times. I'm glad this is being recorded. It's one of the few times you'll actually hear me say Christina was right about something. So
you hear that? Right. You heard it here first. So anyway, so who's your favorite character in Firefly?
Mal, of course. I've always Star Trek. I've always more associated with the captains. With Firefly, it was the same deal. I mean, I go along with the story of the main character. And I know the main character is kind of split between Mal and his captaining of the Firefly and Summer's character. I can't remember her name.
River,
thank you. River. I don't know. It's one of those hippie names. And her journey from the psychological stuff that the corporation had done to her. So.
Well, it's the Alliance, but yes.
Same in difference. It was basically a corporation.
Well, no, it was the governmental it was the core worlds. It was the
core world's government, yeah.
That's what the Alliance was. It wasn't like Alien where everything was run by Weyland-Yutani Corporation. Even though, as funny as it sounds, I mean, realize that this show took place in 2017 or 2517. I apologize. 2517 is where Serenity or Firefly is actually based. And which would have been long after the events of the Alien trilogy. And right. The reason I say that and the reason I bring that up is something we talked about before about accidental canon. In the first episode of Firefly, I don't know if you caught that or not, Chris.
You've told me about it, but I didn't catch it, and I haven't gone back through the series a second time to...
But yeah, I think I still have the screen cap somewhere. But yeah, there's a way on the cannon that Mal was firing, there is a Weyland-Yutani logo. Which, if you think about it, at that time, it would have been surplus. It would have probably just been cheap crap they found to try to battle back because the Browncoats were the rebellion. And as you can see by my shirt, I'm a major Browncoat. I have like all little Firefly figures. Anytime I can find some cool Firefly collectible, I kind of buy it even more than Star Wars. So.
Oh no, that's still blasphemy in my mind.
Well, I love Star Wars too, so I mean.
Yeah.
All right, so what's your favorite episode?
Oh my God. I don't remember which episode it was, but it was the episode where I don't remember the actor's name, but he was in The Crow, City of Angels as Judas.
Okay.
And he was hunting down River, and he basically took over the Firefly or the Serenity, And when he was there, and he was chasing down that female mechanic. I can't remember her name, but River was actually in his ship and kind of controlling the Serenity with her mind somehow, and it was like really screwing with him because he was like a deadly hunter. He was really good at what he did, but then it was just kind of screwing with him with what River was doing. So I really dug that. I mean, I'm kind of being vague because again, I've only watched the series one time. I do have to go back and see it again, but the problem is and understand people, when I saw the series, I was also trying to force through all the other series that we were discussing on Fourth Wall. So it's time constraint that kept me from being able to watch it again. So
Yeah, I'm trying to think which episode that was.
it's close to the end of the series of the TV show.
Yeah, because we all know the movie, which we'll get into that in a minute.
I'll tell you what pisses. I actually thought about this for the show. I'll tell you what pisses me off about the movie. The movie made sure that if they ever brought back Firefly to TV, if they ever did, and I really had to think about this for a while, it would have to be a reboot. It couldn't be a continuation.
Actually, I believe you're wrong on that. And the reason for that, I'm going to get into that right now. You actually just really segmented me into this fan theory that's been floating around for a while of what if the movie Serenity in reality didn't really happen, but what it was one of the dreams from the episode, which was called Out of Gas.
Okay, remind me of the episode.
Out of Gas there was an explosion in the engine room. It left Serenity and with the engine and a little life support system and all backup out of commission. With only a few hours of oxygen left, Mal and his crew leaving 2 shuttles while he remains aboard and hopes to contact the passing ship. And it was a series of flashbacks, and I believe he passes out at some point. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it would be kind of interesting if that was the case. And they could do it like that, too, and it would work. But that's a fan theory that's floating around about the movie Serenity. That's why the continuity is there, but some of the stuff is a little different than the series. Even though we all know, and it's common knowledge at this point, that Fox completely screwed up the release of Firefly anyway. Because they mixed the episodes up.
Right.
That's why if you watch it, it's like, wait, this makes no... Like, some of the episodes don't go sync together because they just completely screwed it up.
No, that is a common knowledge. And just like Serenity was basically Joss Whedon's farewell to it, at least giving him the opportunity to end it the way he wanted to, as opposed to just the abrupt ending that season 1 had, because he was hoping and intending to do a season 2 eventually. But,
well, the cool thing is it's actually kind of getting that chance, because I don't know if the other reason why we're doing this episode tonight is because of the announcement that Firefly is coming back. However, not in TV aspect.
I'm listening.
There's a new series of books and comic books that will be coming out to continue the Firefly universe.
Okay, well, there is comics already out there.
But there's new ones, that's what I'm saying. A lot of those are older, but these are all new that are coming out. So to continue the storyline via paper instead of via film.
That's fine. I mean, I've read the comics that exist already, and they're not bad, but I still don't think that's the right medium for Firefly. As cool as the books may be and the comics are, and what the new ones may be, its home is on film. It's definitely, I think, a visual story.
Well, at the same time, this is actually going to be a good discussion right now. We all know that Disney just purchased 21st Century Fox. We all know this. One of the properties that Disney purchased with 21st Century Fox is Firefly. So with Disney's takeover, I mean, they bought so much properties at this point. Every time it seems like they're buying my childhood. But anyway,
I'm fine with that.
Everything's got mouse ears now.
Hey, I'm happy they bought 20th Century Fox for multiple reasons. One, maybe they could fix that clusterfuck of Fantastic Four, and two, Deadpool is a Disney princess.
Yes, exactly. But Leia also is a Disney princess.
Yes, she is.
Just wait for her to be crowned. Make it
It's
happen, Disney.
It's almost a sin that you haven't done it already.
Oh, it is. But as I was saying, though, to go back, they now own the rights to Firefly. Could they just not do anything with it? Possible. However, they have to know there is quite a decent following. That's why they're putting out these books. I think it's almost like a tester, where they're going to put this stuff out, see how well it does, and if it really takes off, then at that point they're going to go, oh, well, maybe we need to revisit like bringing a series back or stuff like that. Because we all know this, for a show that lasted one season and it was unfairly cut by the channel, it has a huge following even to this day. And that show came out in 2005, I believe. No, 2002, 2003. My dates are a little off. So we're talking about a show now that hasn't been on the regular airwaves in 15, 16 years. Yet still has a hellacious following behind it.
Yeah, the actors don't look the same anymore. Except for Wash. Wash still looks exactly the same.
I swear, Alan Tudyk does not age.
No, he doesn't. He still looks like he does. The only time he looked different was in Rogue One because they CGI'd his ass.
Oh, I love watching the extras with that.
Oh, yeah, him with the little fake head and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the stilts.
Yeah.
Poor guy. Oh, my God. But yeah, Alan, I mean, he's also done like a lot of Disney voiceovers, too. I mean, the guy's talented. Can't take Disney, that away.
I think, I think Disney will do it. But if they do it, they may hold off until after the announcement, the official launch of the Disney app, the streaming app, because that would definitely be a draw point to go get the Disney streaming app. Is, hey, if you get this Disney streaming app, guess what? Season 2, Firefly.
How much and where do I get it? That's all I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm. I think they're going to hold it off until then, but I think it's very possible that I agree with what you're saying that, you know, the books and comics will definitely be testing the water, but I think Disney will definitely turn around and say, well, if it goes the way we think it's going to go, we start getting in production of this stuff and then we announce it at launch of the streaming service.
Yeah, that would be incredible, and I would be all for that. I think I would be like the happiest person on this planet because I watched Firefly like back in 2002, 2003. I'm going to explain something. I was going through a lot at that point in my life, and I was dealing with unemployment at that point for a little while. And I remember sitting there watching TV and the show was on, and it just really hooked me. And I think that's when it gave me hope. Like, I don't know, as weird as it sounds, it gave me hope.
Well, I mean, it's a story of a bunch of people that lost a rebellion, that are living on the fringes of space, you know, staying away from the tyranny of the Alliance, you know, and the core planets, and yet they're free. I get where it kind of ties into your mindset.
Well, it's also that it's. I mean, let's not forget the Alliance is not the only enemy in the series as well.
No, there's also the Reavers.
Which is
or
what
Reapers.
The Reavers.
Reavers. It was Reavers. I always confuse it with Mass Effect's as Reapers.
No, they were Reavers.
Reapers.
Which, this is something I actually wanted to talk to you about anyway. So with the Reavers, in the series, they never really touch base on them too much, and in the movie, you do understand why. Because they were people, there was a legend behind them, just like we have legends, just like everyone has legends, whereas they were people who traveled to the edge of space and lost their mind, and they went crazy.
However, people and ships.
and raping and murdering. Hopefully it was murder, rape, then cannibalized. But some people weren't even that lucky, as we found out in the movie.
Mm-hmm. If you're lucky, it's in that order.
Yeah. But we found out in the movie that it was a chemical called Paxilon 9 that was released into the air purifiers, which is another Weyland-Yutani reference, because remember LD-427 was terraformed, just like Miranda was terraformed.
Right.
So once again, it's, there's other connections to that universe that makes me really wonder if that was deliberately inserted into the same universe as Aliens.
It's very possible. I mean, who knows? Joss Whedon is a well-known science fiction fanatic. And, a lot of his credits are things like he loved Star Wars, he loved Alien, stuff of that nature.
He directed Alien Resurrection, actually.
He did direct Alien Resurrection. Ironically, probably considered one of the worst of the Alien movies.
I like it better than 3. I definitely like it better than Alien Covenant.
Prometheus.
I'm sorry, not Covenant, Prometheus.
Actually, it does bring up a nice segue that I was going to ask you about the Disney thing, which is kind of on topic with Firefly in its own right. With Disney buying 21st Century Fox, do you think they'll allow? Oh my God, I'm going to hate myself right now because I can't remember the creator of Alien. Ridley Scott. Thank you. Yes, Ridley Scott. Do you think they'll allow Ridley Scott to finish the trilogy? With the disappointing numbers Covenant took, there's talks that he wasn't going to be able to do his third movie. Do you think now that Disney has it, it's like, well, it's fucking Alien. We know it'll sell. Let's just go ahead and let them finish it.
That I'm not even sure on, because, Prometheus was a complete mess. Let's be honest. I hated Prometheus.
I hated Prometheus until Covenant. Covenant filled a lot of holes of Prometheus for me.
But you shouldn't have to have a whole movie to retcon the previous movie.
I didn't really retcon it. I looked at it the same way I look at, like, a lot of people's complaints for Last Jedi right now, in the sense that I feel Prometheus, in a sense, was a setup for the trilogy. It wasn't meant to answer any questions yet because you had 2 other movies. I think, just like with Last Jedi, a lot of people are upset with the way certain things happen in the movie. It's like, well, remember, there's another fucking movie. Questions aren't completely answered yet. There's another movie. Prometheus was the same way. There's Covenant and then after Covenant.
This is true.
You know what I mean? So for me, it was like Prometheus as a standalone movie was garbage. But as the beginning of a full story, especially now that I had Covenant to fill some of the holes or questions I had, it's like, Prometheus is a little better. It's still Attack of the Clones quality of a movie. But, I mean, it was better than what it was previous Covenant. And I'm one of those people, I actually liked Covenant. A lot of people hated it. I loved it. Well, I didn't love it, but I liked it. But I do want to see it finished. Whether it was a great hit or barely squeaked by, I'd rather see the trilogy finished because I'm invested. I've seen Prometheus, I've seen Covenant, I want to see 3.
I mean, I think there's a lot of aspects into finishing it. I hope they do, just because it is supposed to be a trilogy, and to not finish the last movie would be probably one of the worst cinematic mistakes next to, to, like, I don't know. I can't even think right now. But yeah, there's some pretty... Oh yeah, Disney thinking they actually had a better space opera than freaking 20th Century Fox.
Yeah. Well, Disney, you got to think, Disney does have a better space opera than 20th Century Fox. They've got Star Wars, now they've got Alien. They've got
Firefly.
And Firefly. They got, but I'm talking film, like movie-wise. Like Serenity's just one movie. Alien's a franchise. Star Wars is a franchise as far as movies are concerned. They own 2 of the biggest blockbuster sci-fi movie franchises in history.
Well,
how can you not bank on that?
Well, what I was talking about is when I said space opera is, you do realize when Episode 4 came out in 1977, Disney did release their own movie.
Refresh my memory. What movie was it?
The Black Hole.
That's right. Oh my God, yeah, because for some reason I'm sitting there like Flight of the Navigator. No, that was later. That was the
No,
80s.
that was, and they brought out the movie. In fact, there was several like it wasn't common for this to happen. I mean, it was pretty common for this to happen. Oh, they're bringing out space opera. We need to write one of those too, because Disney actually believed that Black Hole it was going to be a bigger movie than Star Wars. Which I know we're off topic right now, but it was kind of a good point to bring up that. And in reality, most people like you, the perfect example right there. Which movie was that? Like, I've seen it. I have it. It's
Was
not
it
a bad.
decent?
It's not bad. It's no Star Wars, but it's it's kind of more of that typical. Hey, look, there's an abandoned ship. Let's investigate it. Oh well, there's crazy people on board. Like, and a weird robot. Like,
Well, Star Wars history for all you Star Trek nerds, based on what Christina's talking about. Star Trek was a franchise that was dead in the water until Star Wars released and became so popular that Paramount said, hey, we own the rights to this thing called Star Trek. Let's make a movie. Had Star Wars not been successful, there would never have been any Star Trek movies or subsequent series afterwards. So, Trekkies, you're welcome.
well, let's be honest. The first Star Wars movie was not that great.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Trek. Star Trek.
I think it was. I think it was the closest of the original 6 movies. It was the closest to what original Star Trek was, but they did ruin it with just the ship porn. 35 minutes of just look. It's the Enterprise. How pretty, and then another fucking hour and a half of just staring at Windows screensavers that are supposed to be the inside of the fucking the fucking
Well,
cloud.
Like honestly, you say that, but I actually feel, even though we're totally we totally derailed right now, but that's okay.
We're coming back to it.
We're gonna come back. But I honestly feel like the second Star Trek movie was more in sync to the original because it revisited a previous episode.
No, it did, and you're right. It did tie in storyline wise. I was meaning the feel of it was more episode one, episode one, the movie one. Movie two, The Wrath of Khan, was really where Star Trek came to its own as a movie.
I mean, to go back to Firefly, though, we're talking about movies and episodes. You said season 2. I would be totally happy, to be honest, if they introduced another Firefly movie, like a continuation movie, and started turning that into a movie series. I'd be perfectly fine with that as well.
Well, here's the question: how would you want it? What if they gave you both? And I'm spitballing, so let me even throw up a spoiler warning. I'll send you the spoiler warning. Let me throw up a spoiler warning in case I'm like actually dead on to what Disney does if they do anything with it. What if they gave you a franchise or a TV series on the stream service that is either a reboot or maybe like a different crew, different time zone, something of that nature, and then the movie, if they do a movie as well, that's original cast members continuing off of Serenity.
Well, I think part of the reason why Serenity worked was the casting as well. And that's something we need to remember. I mean, Nathan Fillion playing Mal. Gina Torres playing, Alan Tudyk, Adam Baldwin. They all they fit those roles so perfectly. I think part of the issue is, and it's such a fierce fandom, it'd be kind of thing like right now with the Han Solo movie, that people are fucking uproaring because it's not Harrison Ford. I think for them to recast, exactly. For them to recast, it's going to be.
With him with Solo. I don't have an issue with Solo, but I'm just saying, don't get me started on what some people are saying about Solo ever since the trailers. Don't get me started. Continue, please.
But I'm just saying, a lot of people have this issue with the fact that, I mean, granted, it's worked well in the past with, Ewan McGregor being Obi-Wan. I mean, yeah, it's worked very well. Even, I hate to say it because I'm not a Star Trek fan, but we keep kind of swinging the reboot Star Trek movies. The recastings worked.
To an extent, I'm still on the fence about Zachary Quintos as Spock because to my mind, nobody can replace Leonard Nimoy. However, Chris Pine as Kirk is phenomenal in my mind. He's probably one of the biggest saving graces of that rebooted franchise.
Well, even then, they're still coming. Oh, Simon Pegg is awesome too.
Oh, Simon Pegg, yeah, Scotty, but Simon Pegg's also in Star Wars. Uncard plot.
Yep. And he's also he's
since they
also
deleted it, he can come back. Since they deleted that scene where Chewie ripped off his arms.
well, he also was in the Canto Bite scene as well.
That's true. So was Mark Hamill.
Yep. Yeah, wasn't he the little? No, yeah, wasn't he the little guy putting coins in the BB-8?
Yeah, in the BB-8, thinking he was a slot machine. Yeah, that was Mark Hamill. And the way you could tell is at the end when the little fucking horse monster things were busting through this casino, and then it cuts to the little creature again, and he's sitting there and he's got all the money, and he's laughing. That's such a Joker laugh. It's like, oh yeah, that's Mark.
But yeah, I just don't think it would be very easy to recast a show like this because it was the cast that made the movie too. I mean, they're either going to have to completely reboot it and then be criticized for it, continue on without Wash, or swallow the fan theory that's been floating around and make it a dream of out of gas and reunite the entire crew. I mean, it's the only way they're going to make it work.
Look, as much as I would love to see Wash back, and Wash was definitely my second favorite character next to Mal, I wouldn't want to see the fan theory because you're retconning Serenity completely.
That's true too.
You're making it completely a worthless thing to the canon and the storyline. I wouldn't want to see that. I'd rather see it continue on, and that if not a reboot, at least like 30, 40 years down the line, somebody else has a Serenity. It's a whole new crew, or a group of people that are in an outskirts and finds the Serenity in a junkyard or something of that nature, like the next generation of Firefly.
Well, let's be honest, this Firefly is falling apart at this point. So, which actually created some really interesting banter between Jane and Mal, which Jane's an awesome character. Like that combination of those two characters were freaking great. Like that was like the perfect chemistry between two separate characters. Like if you think about it, like the whole thing, like we're crashing again. What do you mean? You're like, oh my god, we're gonna die. I don't want to die. Like it was just always. And then later during the review, he's getting his weapons ready, and he turns around and he goes, he's got the strap of grenades, and Mal's like, no grenades. Oh, then later on they're running the Reavers, and he turns around, and he just looks right at Mal. It's like, it'd be really good if I had some grenades.
Yeah,
like it's just that sums up like the Jane Mal relationship. Like you couldn't trust Jane. Like reality is you could trust Jane, but you couldn't trust Jane. Mm-hmm. Like as it was shown in the series, like if he had a chance to profit and betray you, he probably would. He was a merc. He was a hired merc on that ship.
Mm-hmm.
And it was shown, I can't remember which episode it was, but it was the one with the hospital heist.
Right.
Where they were robbing the hospital, and he pretty much sold them all out.
Mm-hmm.
To a point where Mel almost kicked him off the damn ship.
Through an airlock.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just put that out there. It was an airlock. It wasn't like, get off my ship, we're taking off. No, we're already off.
Yeah, he was about to get punted. Like that, I mean, let's talk about the characters for a sec. I mean, while we're getting on it, you had Mal, played by Nathan Fillion, who I would be honest, Nathan Fillion is one of my like major crushes too. But
River, from that TV show, I'll give it to River.
Captain. One of the last pretty much surviving people from the Browncoats, from the Resistance himself, who bought the Firefly, who was revealed to try to keep as much space from the Alliance as he could.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have Zoe, Wash's wife. Also, always has been his, second in command.
Mal's conscious, really.
They all kind of work as a conscience in a way. If you notice, like I hate people who talk about Firefly and sit there and go, "Hey, it's a ship full of fucking Han Solo. Shut the fuck up." No, it's not. Okay? Each character has their own characterization. And I fucking hate that.
Well, I could see the argument for either side.
Well, they're not though. I mean, then you have, then we have Wash,
Yeah, Wash.
which is Hobart, which is Hobe and Washburn. For those who may not know, if you don't know, why the fuck are you watching this show? Okay? We're talking Firefly here. They were the greatest fucking shows that never had a fucking chance, which that rant's coming at the end of this episode. So I will rant because, and Chris will tell you, for me to rant is a very rare occasion. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm the one that does all the ranting. That's why I have a show called It Had to Be Said. That's where I get it out of my system.
So we also have Inara, the companion.
Right.
Pretty much high-class hooker. I mean, or escort. Not hooker, escort.
Hooker.
Escort. Well, really an escort, but they're companions.
Mm-hmm.
Which, in itself, I mean, which she actually really... I don't know. This is like... I know she was also the ambassador for the Firefly.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she worked at. She was their way to... But,
well, remember, Firefly has a very much an old West feel to it, and her being a companion or hooker or an escort was really kind of like the whorehouses of the old West, where it wasn't really as looked down upon as like our society would look at a hooker today. In Firefly, I very much looked at it like an old West type whorehouse, where it was a place of comfort. And also a place of information.
Well,
really.
Let's not forget too the companions as well. In this time frame and in this universe as well. To have a companion travel with you on your ship gave you a certain like social acceptance and legitimacy when you were trying to do business. So, I mean, let's not forget that this world is a lot it's somewhat different than our world now. Let's be honest. It's only somewhat. Like, the people still rate you by what you have and what you have accessible to you. We have Jane. Gotta love Jane in his own way. He's the biggest asshole you'd ever want on your side. Let's be honest. But like I said, you can't trust him, but he's the biggest asshole you'd ever want on your side. Like... he does try to take over the ship several times. Like, I think it was in the movie, too, when he says, you want to run this ship? Yeah, I do. And his mouth just looks around, like, taken back, like, no, well, you can't. Like...
Jane, I love the character of Jane. I love the dynamic of Jane, but I think Jane's biggest part really was kind of basically the I know I'm going to get shot for this, the Jar Jar Binks of Firefly. He was the comedy relief, but he was the comedy relief done right.
I'm about to say Jar Jar Binks may be a bad reference there. You're gonna get hate mail.
Meaning the character was designed to be the comedy relief, but unlike Jar Jar, he actually did it right.
Okay. And next we have also, let's not forget Kaylee.
Kaylee's the mechanic I was talking about earlier.
Yeah. Kaylee's awesome. Like, you gotta love Kaylee. I mean, she was just so... Like, she could fix anything, and she kept that damn ship together with pretty much nothing for the entire series. So we have to give her credit where credit's due.
I think if I had any complaint...
And was very good at embarrassing Mal when needed, too.
I think if I had any criticism or critique about her character was that she was just too nice and sweet for a grease monkey. Most grease monkeys are portrayed as very gruff, very, very crass. And she was like, she would get down and dirty, fixing the engines or whatever else, and then be happy to have like a socialite, polite conversation with tea.
Well, I kind of like that aspect because it shows that not all people are, like, to be a mechanic, you don't have to be all gruff and non-attractive.
I never said unattractive.
But you know what I mean. So let's just cut through these because I know we're running short on time for this interview.
Yeah, I got to get on RadioCast FM tonight. Well, it'll be past tonight when you guys see this video. But after here, I got to go do my radio broadcast. So, yeah, go ahead.
So we also have Simon. Simon annoys the shit out of me in the entire fucking series. I'm not going to lie. I understand his purpose. He does annoy the absolute shit out of me.
No, I got to concur with that. I could live without his character.
I
Like,
could
I
as well.
understand, I understood he had to bring River onto the Serenity and be the catalyst of making Mal and his crew actually give a shit about her. But I think he could have died off after they got to that point.
I mean, yeah,
You
he was
know,
constantly just screwing stuff, making things harder, and he was just very. I actually really hated his character. Like, he is my
hmm
least favorite in Firefly. Is Simon. Then we have the very, very crazy, however, very deadly River Tam.
very sexy River Tam.
Oh, she was like a kid, dude.
I don't care.
She was like 14.
She was older than 14.
Not in the series.
Well, the actress was older than 14, and it's still sexy.
But yeah, I mean, she was intelligent. She was
Well, she
just
was a
crazier.
genius, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Before they screw with her mind, she was like genius level.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
did all those experiments on her brain trying to make her into the ultimate weapon and completely screwed her up. Like,
hmm
as you saw even more in the movie than in the series. But also, finally, we got to see her fight, like fight.
hmm
When she took out that entire pack of Reavers, like probably without even breaking a sweat. Like that whole scene, though, at the end, though, when that wall drops and she's sitting there with that axe and that sword, it was just like, damn.
She's ready to play.
I mean, everything was just dead at that point. And then she knocked Jane out, which is freaking great too. 90-pound girl knocked Jane out
There you
because
go.
Wash wasn't letting him live that one down. And then, last but not least, I know you're not a fan of this actor, and that's Shepard Book.
Well, again, the reason I'm not a fan of this actor is because every character he plays is pretty much portrayed the exact same way. He's a very one note actor. That's not to take anything away from the character. It's just it took me out of the thing is that the way he acts took me out of the scene whenever he was a part of it. You know what I mean? He just feels like he's a guy playing a character instead of that character. If that makes sense.
Fair enough. I mean, that's your opinion. You're entitled to it.
Right.
I mean, I kind of liked his character because he was, he's supposed to be this devout Christian shepherd, which is like a priest. However, he had like a just unexplainable, massive amount of criminal knowledge. At his best line, I mean, let's not forget his best line, which is, he was talking about the Bible and specific of killing, and then he just turns around and is like, but it's so much fuzzier on the subject of kneecaps. I mean, can't go wrong.
Well, you do get the impression with that character that he definitely had a background before the shepherdness, probably, and you get the impression that it was intended to be explored more later.
Yeah. Well, they had the whole series of for Shepard that dove more into him. So,
Right.
if you haven't checked it out, check it out.
There
So,
you go.
so that's actually all I got time for Chris. I know Chris has to get going.
Yeah, I got to go make a playlist.
Yeah, and have what are you up to? 3 listeners? 2?
Yeah, 4. Because
I'm
you'll be
about to
listening in while you're editing.
Yeah, once I'm editing, but I still got another couple more things of footage to do. But yeah. So until next, so we'll be right back, and I'm going to have a little bit of a rant. So we're gonna have a little bit of fun with this because I haven't ranted in a long time, and this is one of my definite issues that I'm still pissed about, like many other Firefly fans. So we'll be right back.
And now I got to watch the rest of the damn show because I want to hear this rant. Catch you guys later, guys.
All right, we're back. Hope everyone enjoyed that little bit of interview with Chris. The final part, I do have a little bit of a rant to go off about Firefly and the shitty treatment that Fox gave fucking Firefly, considering that it was one of the fucking greatest shows I have ever goddamn seen on that fucking station. However, I will say this for the record, okay? It was the master of the genre it created, which was that Western sci-fi genre. It was one of the greatest shows I have ever seen. You know, Joss Whedon had 7 seasons written for Firefly. Something not a lot of fucking people know. 7 goddamn seasons. And after the first season, you know, while the show's just getting established, and there was, despite the people that followed the show and enjoyed the show, Fox says, nope, fuck it. We're not doing it anymore. You know, fuck. This is why I hated Fox. You know, for the longest time, Fox Television, I fucking hated them because they canceled some of the greatest goddamn shows I've ever seen. I mean, granted, yes, they did bring a few of them back here and there, but they have had a long history of shutting down good shows and then leaving crap still running. You know, Firefly was a fucking amazing show. And yes, I'm saying this fucking 16 years later. And I'm still fucking pissed off 16 years later over the fact that they just fucked over the fandom. They fucked over Joss. They fucked everybody over. They fucking turned around and they sat there and go, oh, well, guess what? No more. I mean, seriously. What the hell? It wasn't even a money issue. Okay, he had 7 seasons written in a fucking binder for Firefly. 7. Okay? It was going to go into the fucking Blue Sun Corporation. More Shepard's backstory. There was so much to cover with Firefly. And they fucking didn't because Fox just sucks as a fucking TV station when it comes to shows. They just have this long history of killing shows for no fucking reason that are very popular. They did it with fucking Firefly. They did it with Married to Fucking Children. They did it with Family Guy. They fucking did it with a show called Drive, which is also Nathan Fillion. Yeah, so this is my rant, which I was saying during the interview that was going to happen. You know, I'm still pissed off. And I don't know what it would take for me not to be pissed off. The fact that these new canon novels are coming out, yes, that is a good start. That is a great start to say, hey, you know something? It's something. And I'm going to look forward to reading them and buying those. However, 7 fucking seasons. 7. And you just fucked the fandom. You know, this is why I don't watch Fox anymore. Like, if there's a new series on Fox, I tend not to watch it because as soon as I start getting into a fucking series, they fucking kill it. So, like I said, that's not something I'll probably ever get over fully, is the fact that they cancel fucking Firefly. I am happy that Universal did release the Serenity movie. That gave us some closure. It did give us some, it did give us something, even though I really wish it didn't kill fucking Wash. That hurt really fucking badly to lose Wash. It fucking was badly to lose Shepard. But however, this should never, like, the way the movie would have been, if they fucking just let Joss Whedon do this show like they should have, guess what? It would have fucking been amazing. We would have had so much fucking backstory. I felt like a fucking member of that goddamn crew when I watched that show. And that's one of the reasons why, I love this show so much. Most shows you sit there and watch and it's just you're watching as a third person. Serenity pulled you in. It made you feel like a part of the fucking crew. Like you were one of the main characters. And you could have been one of the main characters. No other show has really done that for me. I mean, there's a couple of movies that have Star Wars, granted, but yeah. So, this is my rant. Fuck you, Fox, for still canceling them, even 16 years later. Fuck you. I'm glad fucking Disney bought your dumbasses out, because you couldn't run a fucking station to save your life. So, anyway, I'm Christina Tali, that trans geek girl. Until next episode, we will be having, mind you, will be our special guest which is Tsuneko from our Facebook Live episode we did, which was our last episode. She will be here. We will be recording here. She was the winner of the contest. And Until then, y'all have a good one. You can catch me. My upcoming show is going to be beginning in April, which is the Dystopian Archives, as well as you can catch me on www.radiocastfm.com on Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern to 11 p.m. Eastern on my show, which is actually, my show's changing, to be honest. It's going from Eclectica, which is what everyone knows, starting next week. The next week will be the last episode of Eclectica. After that, we will be going to a new show called 90s Revolution, so definitely check that out. It'll be all 90s music. It's going to be pretty freaking awesome. So until next that week, well, we put out our next episode. Y'all have a good one.
かりしてる最中誰にも心触らせたくなくてほっぺつり上げて笑顔取り繕うために何をしようかのプランで愛を歌う並べただけの単語に意味なんかないのさそれでいいのさこの気持ちに気づいてしまう前にケンケンパンひょうひょうと行け曲げそうな時は野間かじでそれが何なのかわからないくらいに